The story begins in a world far more brutal than any of the alien civilizations could have ever imagined. Earth, planet that was known for its sheer hostility, where life itself was a battle for survival. The creatures that roamed the land were monstrous, relentless, and far larger than anything humanity could hope to fight. The air was thick with danger. The ground could crack open with no warning, and the skies unleashed violent storms, capable of destroying everything in their path. It was here, on this unforgiving planet, that humanity was born. Yet, despite being outmatched by the beasts and nature itself, humans managed to survive. At first, it was through sheer luck, but luck alone doesn't keep a species alive for long. No, it was something deeper. It was the fire inside them, the need to adapt, to outwit their surroundings, and to bend the world to their will. The first humans, with nothing but primitive tools and their own instincts, fought against everything that threatened their existence. From the moment they could walk, they were pitted against the harshest of environments. It was the only way to live. With every passing generation, humanity learned to harness fire, tame wild beasts, and even bend nature itself to their needs. But Earth was still a death world, place where nature itself sought to wipe out anything that didn't adapt fast enough. So, humanity did the one thing it did best: they adapted. They didn't just survive on Earth, they learned to master it. But as they grew, so too did the realization that Earth wasn't the only deadly world in the galaxy. And while humanity had learned to overcome the planet's dangers, the universe was far more deadly. As humanity began to expand beyond Earth, they discovered something shocking. The universe was filled with life, strange, advanced alien races, living on planets far more habitable than Earth, had evolved with every advantage humanity lacked. They had advanced technology, faster than light travel, and weapons that made humanity's primitive tools look like toys. But there was one thing these alien species didn't have, and that's where humanity's greatest weapon came into play: humanity's mind. While Earth was a death world, the creatures on it had something that made humans different from all the rest: the ability to outthink, outlast, and outmaneuver any challenge they faced. The alien races who had laughed at humanity's primitive ways were about to learn just how wrong they were. In the face of superior technology and seemingly insurmountable odds, humanity didn't just fight, they outsmarted their enemies. They didn't have the power of the galaxies behind them, but what they had was something far more terrifying: the ability to use any resource in their environment to their advantage. They could turn the very terrain of battle into a weapon, the unknown into an ally, and when there was no way out, humanity could always find a way in. But that was just the beginning. The aliens underestimated the human spirit, the one thing no technology could ever replicate: the will to survive at any cost. And as the war began to unfold, humanity would not only survive, they would thrive. And then came the war, a galactic conflict unlike any the universe had ever seen. At first, the galaxy was convinced it would be a short-lived skirmish. A few humans, outnumbered and outgunned, facing off against races with technology far superior to anything Earth had to offer. They were wrong. The galaxy watched in disbelief as humanity, without the advantage of superior weapons or military technology, began to strike back. It wasn't about strength, it was about survival. Humanity's adaptability, their willingness to risk everything to find an edge, made them a deadly opponent. As the war waged on, Earth's Deathworlders grew stronger. They used the environment around them, turning every situation, no matter how dire, into an opportunity. The universe had never seen a species like this. They were unpredictable, relentless, and most terrifying of all, they were unbreakable. As the war escalated, humanity's tactics grew more ingenious. Guerrilla strikes against technologically superior forces, strategic alliances with species that had been ignored or considered weak. They exploited the smallest flaws in the enemy's armor, sabotaged their weapons, and turned the tide of battle in their favor. And just when the galaxy thought humanity couldn't surprise them any further, the most shocking thing of all happened. The humans didn't just fight the war, they redefined it. In the final moments of the war, when it seemed like the Deathworlders would be crushed, humanity made a move so bold, so daring, that it stunned even the oldest races in the galaxy. They had won, not just through force, but by making the galaxy respect them in ways no one thought possible. The war was over, but the galaxy's understanding of humanity had forever changed. No longer seen as a weak, primitive species, humanity had shown the universe that it was capable of surviving against impossible odds, adapting in ways no other race could, and thriving in environments that would break any other species. But there was something even more terrifying about humanity, something that the galaxy hadn't fully realized yet. The Deathworlders didn't just survive, they expanded. They took what they had learned on Earth, and they carried it with them as they spread across the stars. Everywhere they went, they carved out a place for themselves. They adapted to new planets, to new environments, and even to alien cultures. With each new world they conquered, the Deathworlders grew stronger. No matter how harsh the world, no matter how alien the environment, humanity would bend it to their will. And soon, the galaxy learned to fear the Deathworlders in a new way. Not only were they survivors, but they were conquerors who would stop at nothing to claim what was theirs. But in the shadows, a new question began to form in the minds of the galaxy's rulers. What happens when the Deathworlders come for us? As humanity spread further into the galaxy, their legacy grew. The Deathworlders were no longer just a myth. They were a living, breathing force of nature that could not be ignored. They had proven that no matter how hostile the environment, no matter the strength of their enemies, humanity would always rise. But even as humanity stood victorious, a lingering tension grew in the stars. The galaxy had learned to fear the Deathworlders, but that fear had given birth to something darker. The question on every mind was this: what if humanity could face a challenge it couldn't survive? And so, as humanity continued to thrive and expand, the universe watched with bated breath. Would the Deathworlders continue to conquer, to adapt, to survive? Or would they meet an enemy who was truly their match? The legacy of humanity, the Deathworlders, was only beginning, but the galaxy couldn't help but wonder what would happen when even the most resilient species faced an insurmountable challenge.